Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Back to the regular grind again. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. Welcome back after your busy end of year car week. Thank you for putting in Cash and Carry's comments. Good morning. Yes, socialism does maintain a 100% failure rate. I agree. Good morning, Yogi. Happy Monday to you. What else? What else do we have here? Let's see who else is coming in. What was this? Where was this? Just looking at some of the comments in here from Kashkari. I always like this one. I am guessing unemployment is sideways and inflation down slowly. You gotta love when Fed president is guessing, not based off models or anything. I'm just guessing. Yeah, I'm guessing. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, David Atkins. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Jacob. So, what else? U.S. crude oil expected to average 58.15 barrel in 2026 versus 59. All right. Well, thank you. We had the Venezuela situation. I'll just call it situation. It's going to be an unfolding situation for a while, no matter how it's spun. It's going to. And by the way, when we'll talk about that, the oil is the heavy oil, which is not the oil we cover. Now, I'm not doing much for a couple days in oil just to see how things shake out. But natty gas is more interesting. Uh, and there are no futures for the heavy oil that is traded, that is extracted from Venezuela. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. There's no direct futures contract. You have Brent and light crude. And this is not going to be easy to get stuff out of there just yet. So we'll see. All right, what do we got going on this week? ISM manufacturing information out today, 10 a.m. Eastern, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Tomorrow we got Barkin speaking. We had Cash Carry speaking this morning. Cash and Carry. S&P Global Services and Composite PMIs Wednesday. Mortgage stuff. The ISM Services information. The JOLTS numbers are coming out on Wednesday, and ADP numbers all on Wednesday with the EIA numbers. And Thursday we have initial and continuing jobless claims. Then we have Friday. We have non-farm payrolls for December. That's the biggie. That's the biggie this week. That's the biggest one. And then the second biggest one would be the ISM services numbers. So, good morning, Balaji. Hello, Charles. Yeah, they will be very slow. And you know what? It's not going to be easy. You got a lot of still armed rebel groups there and everything else. Let's go old quarterbacks. Are you referring to the Steelers Ravens game? Well, the Steelers game last, which they were playing the Ravens, but one of the quarterbacks is a little older there. Interesting ending. All right. All right. So we have chips and chips up this morning. Semiconductors. Semiconductors are strong. Mag 7 mixed to up. Energy is the big thing. Chevron up 6%. So that's where yeah, Strategy takes $17.4 billion, but you can't lose money on Bitcoin. So everything else, you got energy and technology leading, and that's what it is. I'll do a refresh here, and then basic materials. Gold up a bit, silver up a bit, still not above their next key critical level. So that's where we sit there. Fed Watch has an 84% chance for the pause in January, fear and greed. Neutral mode, Schiller PE, 40-30. Earnings, again, nothing today. Not much tomorrow. It starts getting interesting Wednesday. At least we got Albertsons Constellation Brands, so we have a couple things there to keep an eye out for. And then Thursday, what else do we have? Not much. WD-40, but a very light earnings week all overall. Nothing's really going to move the markets. Nothing is going to move the markets. So, key things I'm watching. Finished Friday pretty flat. You can see here, right there. Finished Friday pretty flat. That's a pretty key level, 6,900. So first trading day of 2026 finished at 6,900. We are still holding the rotation zone. We did dip below it on Friday, but closed back above. We've been getting selling pressure after the open. It's something I mentioned on Friday, and we're still seeing it. So I am very attuned to watching this, especially around the 10 a.m. Eastern time frame, even 9:45. Now, 69.35 is the key level of resistance I'm watching, or if we start getting above there, I'll watch for that to turn into support for a rotation move back up. If we do break down, it's 6,900, which proved very, very key. Very key on Friday with the close. And it was already key before when we gapped up back on Sunday, December 21st. We came back down just below the 68.75. That's still the key area I'm watching. 68.75 to the downside. If we do sell off after the open, 6,900. If 6,900 breaks, I'm looking 68.75. 68.75 is very, very key. That's that spike low. If we get down below there, especially on a closing basis, then I'm watching for a reconnection with the 50 EMA. Other than that, we still maintain the rotation zones to the upside, so we need to break above that 69.35 and hold that as support. And then we're into a little mini clear path move to possibly retest the highs. And we still have not hit the magnet price of 7,000. The NASDAQ. The NASDAQ. We have key level I'm watching. If we sell off after the open, 25,430 area. We break below that. Got some minor support with Friday's low area, 25,300, but then really key is 25,200 from my mind. Saudi Arabia is not going to cut 90% of oil production. They're not going to cut 90%, dark screen. Keith, levels 25,650. 25,650. We got to sustain above that. Then you're running in this 25,791 to 25,8. So for a sustained move, it's still got to get above that 25.8 and then continue. Remember, we're nowhere near the highs still on the NASDAQ. We still have a long way to go. If you look at the March futures, you see how they're just, these are the continuous. These are just the March. We're a long way out from the highs. So they got some heavy lifting to do, especially getting above 26,050 on a closing basis. The Dow, holding the rotation zone on Friday, rotating up. We're trading above the key level right now. We just popped above it, this 48,675 level. So I'm going to be watching if that holds or not. If it does not, 48,550. And then if we drop below 48,550, key level is down at 48,335. If we sustain this, my next target is 48,805. And then we're looking into a clear path move above a lot of resistance so we could return to the highs. They're not cutting 90. It's the wrong. All right. You have to understand with oil, there's different grades of oil. There's different grades of oil, dark screen. A lot of Venezuela is heavy crude that is very difficult to process and needs specific refineries. The oil infrastructure is rotten there right now. It's going to take at least a couple years to make any meaningful progress, and that's not even to where you can pump out. And then it's still mostly, I think there's 45 million barrels of the lighter crude type. Other than that, the rest is heavy. So you got to remember, we trade, we look at mainly light crude. There's also Brent crude futures. Heavy crude is just traded. There's a cash spot market for it. Don't mix up your oil types. That's very ignorant. Russell is the easiest one right now. Why? On Friday, it triggered a double bottom. We just hit the first target. This was able to get into overnight. So waiting through the weekend, getting it overnight, and it just hit the first target. If it continues higher, 25.37 and then 25.43 are the next targets for just a double pattern. If it moves beyond there, there's another 25.55. All right. It has triggered the double top in the thin markets last week and caught on the 50. The double top will not be invalidated on this move, but I am very cautious on this double top. I need to see another rollover pattern before I'm willing to take anything short, because it caught on the 50 and this was triggered on New Year's Eve. Very thin trading. So, VIX 15. In order for to get a lot of selling pressures, we got to still break above about 1550 to get sustained selling pressure, not just this intraday that we even snap back on Friday. But I'm watching for things still not to necessarily rally until they can hold support after the open. 14 key support. The DAX went to new highs. Harmonic was we just spiked above it and backed off. If it takes out, not today, but if it takes out those highs, next is 25,170. Technically, I should have reversed this. Sorry. We still hit that next harmonic. The next is 25,186. I should have reversed that. Made a mistake there. All right. But the DAX eking out new highs. Yields pulling back a bit, but at the higher end of the range. Higher end of the range, nothing has changed with the inverse head and shoulders. 30-year. Friday, we hit the first target of the inverse head and shoulders, and now we've retested that area and just backing off right now. Just backing off. Key support coming in about 4.84. We still have two targets higher potentially. What else do we have? We have, again, light crude. Now, I'm being very patient. There's technically a %B buy if we close above Friday's high, but there's major resistance at 58.50 to about 58.75. I'm just waiting for things to shake out for a couple more days, because there's also this isn't a great setup. It's in consolidation. All right. By the way, %B buys and consolidation are a lower probability because of your reward to risk. It's very hard to get proper reward to risk because the stop would technically go below today's low and the first target's there. You can't get reward to risk, so it would have to be traded very scalpy intraday. Natty gas, because there's our natty gas reserves in Venezuela. This is more important as the light crude is not reacting. Even the heavy crude isn't reacting that much, which we can't look at because there's no futures contract. But this is reacting a bit more. This is reacting back a bit more and finally filled a roll gap. Finally filled the roll gap. Well, the roll gap to the open, not the roll gap to the close. For the roll gap to the close, it's still 3.345. It's just above there. Now, I think this is going to get overdone, so I'm going to be watching for a bounce play. There might be a %B buy set up tomorrow. Again, we're below the 62.5, so that would be a bounce play only, because we could see prices back to this $3 mark with the 87.5 magnet. Gold rotating back up. Remember, we're still in bullish mode, but this has to follow through and close about 44.72. 44.72. Gold's been also getting some selling pressure and hasn't been able to sustain a move. So let's see if today is different with volume coming back in. Silver still in finally. We reconnected with the daily rotation zone. Still way overextended from the weekly rotation zone. 77.64 is key on the closing price on silver. Copper breaking out, testing that the prior high areas. So if we do break above there, that's where this can get a little interesting. I'm going to reverse harmonics on here now, which if we break above this $6 mark, we could see 616 and 636. There's massive resistance up here, but it's still in bull mode, holding the rotation zone. Different countries and different areas have different kinds of oil. Yes. That's why you can't just say oil as a basket. You have to look at the type of oil that's being pumped, the weight of the oil, and what is needed to refine it. It has different uses. And the refining is different. Dollar index. Dollar index. Confirmed. It was looking like it was going to trigger earlier, but we have to wait for the close. But confirmed a double bottom pattern. So this is now confirmed. Going to be watching to see where it triggers today. The euro has broken down, spiked below the 50, looking like it's going to trigger the double top unless we stage a massive rally in the euro. What else do we have going on? We've got the Bitcoin breaking above that 90,400. The next key target is 94,225, which is also major resistance. It's still in a longer term consolidation. It's got to start breaking above this 94 400 area, 94 300 area, but then the target becomes 98.5, 98.6. So that's where we said Sterling also put in the loss from strategy, slightly up today with the Bitcoin rally, but the loss from strategy. Round tripped it back to that 87.5 from the last major run up, so that completed the 87.5 rule. Let me jump back to the spiders. The spiders and the Qs gap up today in the spiders. Very key resistance at 687. Trading 686.31, so watch 687 if you're trading the spiders. If it rolls over, we have about 684 is the first level support, and then you have 683.17 for the gap fill. Technically, if you close above Friday's high, it's a percent B buy in the spiders. The Qs gapping up also 618.70. There's very, very strong resistance at 620. Okay. Now, if this staged a massive rally, technically above Friday's high would be a percent B buy. Doubt that will happen. But there you go. If it rolls over, there's a support level just below 618. 618.80, 618.70 level. You break below that, and we still have then a potential gap fill to Friday's close. That's why light sweet crude reacted minorly, gapped a little down. But if you look at light sweet, which is the one I follow, it's the best trading and the most liquid one. See, it was a little thing, but held support from Friday. Little dip below it. Now, but look at this. It's still in its trading range. It's just in the lower trading range. All right. What else do we have? What else do we have today? Tesla with really abysmal delivery numbers, but going to be watching now for a bounce and then another potential rollover play. It hit the 50 to 62.5, so would not be surprised to see a bounce here. maybe even setting up a much better topping pattern. NVIDIA, remember we do have the double bottom that's triggered. We also have a potential double top. It would need to sell off pretty aggressively to trigger the double top. That would be triggered on a close below 185.91. Other than that, the probabilities are still for higher prices to 196.85 is the first target area. Trading 192.07 on a gap up today. All right. That's where we sit with everything. Just going to peek at Broadcom. Broadcom also a gap up this morning. If Broadcom can break and hold and close above 356, I watch them to go to 368 in the short term. Don't have much more for you right now. I actually have to jump into the open. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great start to trading in 2026. Volume should start coming back in today and really picking up again tomorrow. I will see you all back tomorrow. Bye for now.